Hi, my name's Q and I'm a second year media production student, and I'm going to be going through my top tips for how to get the most out of open day. So my first tip would be to do some research online in advance before you're planning to go to an open day. So my first tip would be to take a virtual tour of the campus. It can help you to feel a lot more acclimatized to the location, and it's sort of a lot less stressful than when you first get onto campus, and it's just very overwhelming and daunting when there's so many more people. If you can, the university may also have a virtual tour of the accommodation, or you may be able to look at accommodation tours from the accommodation provider themselves on their own websites. The second thing I would say is to try and speak to a current student before you go to the university. They can help to answer some of the questions and sort of streamline the process before you get to uni. If you can speak to somebody from your course, that would be good. If not, you're welcome to speak to any student from any course, and they would be able to provide you with some of the answers to the questions that you may have. I would also suggest that you have a look at the surrounding areas of the campus before you come there. So when you get there on the open day, you're able to see what's around there and sort of imagine yourself there, so you can figure out what you would do in what circumstances depending on what you were around. As part of the preparation, I would also suggest making a list the night before. It can be accumulative, but the night before, updating your list of what you plan to achieve on open day. So this can be the buildings that you want to visit, the accommodation you want to visit, any questions that you intend to ask. I would suggest looking at the schedule and then figuring out exactly what you can actually accomplish in that day and what you can attend. Anybody who you definitely want to speak to, or departments that you want to speak to, and then a checklist of maybe what you want to have a look at. So this could be the accommodation, the facilities, some things like that. And then also a list of questions that you might want to ask at the different talks. So there can be talks about the course, about accommodation, about applying, and it's just a very good way of making sure that you can sort of keep track of what it is that you want to achieve in the open day. Once you've arrived at open day, I would say that one of the best things that you can do is speak to students and to speak to staff. You can get the perspective from the students, and the staff can sort of give you an insight into the background of exactly what the university has to offer, what you can learn from the courses, the facilities, and things like that. I would also say it's good to bring paper so that you can write down the answers to questions. Sometimes just writing down random things will prove being relevant at the end of the day, and definitely when you can compare it to other unis, you can sort of figure out what the difference is, what the commonalities are, and it really helps you to sort of figure out what your best choices are after you've been to the open day. Also, taking photos is another good thing. For example, taking photos of the facilities would be really helpful, especially if you're interested in similar courses and you can compare it to another university and you might find that something is slightly different. It's also good to just get an overview of what the campus is like. And my final tip is simply just visiting the surrounding areas and the city.